Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today, we are strapping in for what Google is very emphatically calling a bold new chapter in the AI arms race, and that is the launch of Gemini 3. If you felt like the speed of innovation was high last year, you might need to recalibrate because the velocity we're seeing right now is just, it's staggering.
It truly is. And what's fascinating here is just the sheer urgency driving this whole release. Gemini 3 is here just months after its predecessor, Gemini 2.5.
Which was already fast.
Exactly. And the reason for the speed up, well, it's pretty much an open secret. It's a direct competitive response.
To OpenAI.
To OpenAI, yeah. It landed specifically to counter their launch of GPT-5 back in August. So, this isn't just about an incremental update. This is about establishing immediate, quantifiable superiority.
It feels like the highest stakes poker game in tech history.
Yeah.
I mean, Google CEO Sundar Pichai even framed it that way. He said Gemini 3 was built specifically to grasp depth, nuance.
Okay.
So that the goal is to outthink rivals, not just outcompute them.
Right. It's about sophisticated reasoning over just, raw information retrieval.
So our mission today is to unpack exactly how they're claiming to have done that. We're going to look at its benchmarks, its these new agentic capabilities, and of course the massive market impact it's already having.
This model really represents Google's definitive stake in the ground. They're challenging the assumption that anyone else holds the crown for raw intelligence.
Okay, so let's dig into that. This new standard of intelligence. The source material paints a really dominant picture. We hear about benchmarks all the time, but for anyone listening, this is the battleground, right? The head-to-head competitions that prove which model is objectively smarter. So what did Gemini 3 actually achieve?
The results were, frankly, unambiguous. I mean, Gemini 3 topped 19 out of 20 major AI benchmarks.
19 out of 20. Wow, that's essentially a clean sweep.
It is. And it wasn't just that it won, it established a new high watermark against all its immediate rivals. We're talking specifically outpacing OpenAI's next model, GPT 5.1, and Anthropic's Claude Sonnet 4.5.
And it was the margin of victory that mattered.
Exactly. The margin was huge, especially in tasks that required, complex synthesis of information.
That's the crucial point. So improved scores are one thing, but what does that actually translate to? I mean, in terms of intellectual quality, what are the specific areas where this model is now the undisputed champ?
So it excelled in domains that demand deep sequential processing, not just fast retrieval.
Right. So not just pulling facts from a database.
No, not at all. For example, in advanced mathematics, where even one tiny error in logic just destroys the whole solution, Gemini 3 showed huge leaps in precision. It was also way better at long-form reasoning.
And what does that mean in a practical sense, long-form reasoning?
Okay, so think about it like this. You could feed it 3 separate, long white papers from different departments in your company. Each one has a competing viewpoint on market risk. Instead of just giving you 3 summaries, the model can synthesize all 3 arguments, find the core conflicts, and then recommend a single, unified course of action. It does all that while maintaining the context of the original docs. That's the kind of understanding we're talking about.
And this is where it gets really interesting, especially for enterprise users. And, well, for anyone who wants to rely on AI. Early models had a huge trust problem, the hallucination issue.
Oh, yeah. Making up facts convincingly.
So if Gemini 3 is smarter, is it also more reliable?
This might be the single most critical takeaway. Gemini 3 demonstrated 40% higher factual accuracy on key evaluation tests. 40%. That's a massive reduction in those confidence-eroding hallucinations.
40% is huge. Why should someone listening care about the difference between, say, 70% accuracy and 98%? What does that jump in reliability actually unlock?
It fundamentally changes how you can deploy it. If an AI is only 70% accurate, you have to build in these expensive, slow human review loops for everything.
For sure, especially in legal or finance.
Exactly. But when you get up to 98% accuracy, companies can start trusting the system to do high-stakes tasks on its own. It accelerates workflows, it cuts labor costs. We go from it's a great draft partner to it's a reliable coworker.
Okay, so it's smart and it's trustworthy, but the real shift here isn't just answering questions anymore, it's doing things. Let's pivot to this idea of agentic AI. The sources call it text-to-task mastery.
This is the leap. If the first generation of AI was about generating content, this generation is about independent, goal-oriented action.
Taking a high-level objective and just running with it.
Running with it, completing it autonomously across different apps and interfaces.
And this new thing, Google anti-gravity, is that the model itself or is it something else?
It's the framework. Think of anti-gravity as the foundational architecture, the nervous system that enables the agent. It gives the model the tools it needs to interact with the outside world, write its own code, and handle complex tasks without a human checking in at every step.
That sounds incredibly ambitious. Can you break down how that actually works? The workflow. Let's start with the planning.
Sure. So it begins with autonomous planning. A user gives the AI a broad objective, like plan a business trip to London for me next month. Include flights, a hotel near the Shard, factor in these 2 client meetings from my calendar, and keep it under $4,000.
A lot of moving parts there.
A lot. And the AI just breaks that down into an executable workflow. It checks your calendar, compares flight prices, cross-references hotels, drafts a budget. It doesn't ask for instructions. It just plans the whole sequence.
So it takes away all that mental load. What about actually doing it, the execution part?
That's intelligent execution, and this is where anti-gravity really shines. The AI writes and validates its own little bits of code to talk to real-world apps. It can book the travel, manage refunds, send you confirmations, or even, organize your messy inbox by creating smart filters. And the key is that it watches its own progress and self-corrects if something fails.
And the final piece is for the developers, right? They need to be able to tap into this.
Precisely. The third step is task-oriented development. Anti-gravity lets developers code at a much higher, more abstract level. So instead of writing all the tedious code for API calls and error checking, they just define the high-level, goal-like book travel, and the AI handles the complex logic underneath.
It sounds like they're really aiming this at power users first. The sources say these agentic capabilities are initially exclusive to the, $250 a month Ultra subscribers?
Yeah, and that price point is very strategic. First, it positions this as a premium, high-value enterprise tool, not a consumer toy. And second, it lets Google control the initial rollout. They get feedback from sophisticated users who will really push its limits before a wider release.
Smart. Okay, let's talk integration, because power in a silo is useless. Google's big advantage has always been its footprint. How does Gemini 3 change things for the average consumer, like on day one?
The integration is immediate. It's plugged straight into Google Search's AI mode. This means search now has a profoundly deeper contextual understanding. You search for something complex, you're not just getting keyword matches. You're getting a nuanced conversational summary that actually understands the historical and legal context of your query.
And it's going beyond just static text, right? I've seen some of this interactive stuff in search results.
This is the critical step. It makes search actionable. The system can now generate live simulations or financial calculators or data visualizations right on the results page. So you search a physics concept, and instead of just an explanation, you get an interactive tool with a slider to change the variables. Information becomes experience.
And if we look at the numbers, the scale of Google's ecosystem is it's mind-boggling.
The scale is staggering. AI overviews now serve 2 billion users a month. And the standalone Gemini app has 650 million monthly users. That's a 93% adoption rate among its target group.
Those numbers are colossal.
I do.
How do they actually stack up against the main competition, say ChatGPT? This is a battle for engagement.
And that's the necessary nuance here. While Google's 650 million monthly users for the app is huge, the source material points out that ChatGPT has 700 million weekly users.
Monthly versus weekly, that's a big difference.
It's a very significant difference. It underscores the intensity of this engagement battle.
Break that down for us. Why is weekly engagement such a key metric here?
It really speaks to stickiness and loyalty. A monthly user is checking in, maybe for a specific task. A weekly or even a daily user has integrated the AI into their fundamental workflow. It's a habit, it's a reflex. That 700 million weekly figure for ChatGPT suggests it's the default tool for a lot of people. Google's challenge is to convert its massive search audience into loyal weekly Gemini users.
And the developer ecosystem is what fuels all of that future functionality.
Exactly. They are fueling that growth. Over 13 million developers are now building applications on Google's generative AI models. That ensures their platform is expanding its capabilities at warp speed, way beyond what Google's own teams could ever do alone.
That kind of scale and speed, though, it raises questions about how they're even doing it. Let's look behind the scenes at this innovation engine. Who is actually building a model this complex, this fast?
Well, what's fascinating is this fusion of expertise from 3 groups that used to be pretty distinct. You have Google Research, which provides the fundamental, pure science breakthroughs in machine learning. Then you have DeepMind integrating the advanced reasoning and reinforcement learning into the model's core. And finally, Google Brain handles the massive scale training and optimization to make it all deployable globally. It's a single unified front now.
And none of that works without the right hardware, right? You can't iterate this quickly on off-the-shelf stuff.
Absolutely not. The whole thing relies on their custom TPU infrastructure, their tensor processing units. These are chips Google designed specifically for these models. They accelerate the training process exponentially, which is what allows them to launch a major model like Gemini 3 just months after the last one.
And that technical leadership has translated directly into market success. Google had a remarkable year.
It did. The stock surged 51% in 2025, and that's directly tied to market confidence in their AI leadership, even while other sectors were struggling.
What did that do to their overall valuation?
It pushed Google's valuation up to an impressive $3.4 trillion. And if you zoom out, AI-focused companies now represent a staggering 30% of the S&P 500's total market cap. It's reshaping the entire financial landscape.
Which raises a really important question. When things move this fast, with this much money pouring in, are we entering a bubble? Is this sustainable?
That's the necessary note of caution. Even amid all this excitement, one of the most critical things in the sources is a warning from Sundar Pichai himself.
Yeah.
He spoke of irrationality in the AI investment boom.
Wow, from the CEO of the company that's benefiting most from it.
Right. It signals a very measured, almost skeptical perspective from the top. It implies that maybe the rate of investment is getting ahead of the proven long-term returns.
If Gemini 3 is the standard today, what's next? How do they plan to stay ahead?
They're committed to a continuous quarterly evolution. The next big thing they're talking about is something called deep think mode.
Deep think mode. What does that even mean in practice?
It's about advanced reasoning for exceptionally complex long-term problems. So instead of solving an immediate problem, the AI could be tasked with, say, optimizing a global supply chain over the next 18 months, or analyzing geopolitical risks for a 10-year strategic plan. It's about long-term memory and context across dozens of interactions.
So what does this all really mean for you, for anyone listening? Gemini 3 is genuinely setting a new standard for intelligence and autonomous capability. By releasing this so quickly, Google has positioned itself as an incredibly formidable challenger to OpenAI. This is a high-speed sprint now, not a marathon.
That's the summary. But despite the tech achievements and the financial success, that underlying tension remains. You have massive market enthusiasm, but you also have that warning from Pichai about irrationality. So the question isn't if the technology is valuable, but how the market is pricing its future potential and whether that growth is sustainable under this much pressure.
The AI revolution is accelerating at breakneck speed. The battle is absolutely intense. And as we see these continuous quarterly model improvements driven by competition, the provocative thought for you to consider is this. In this fierce race for global supremacy, what are the implications of prioritizing speed over the slower, more deliberate process needed to ensure systemic safety and long-term stability? The pace is set, and it's up to the rest of us to keep up.